Thank you for joining me. My name is Marcus Blatchford. So this evening I am going to be presenting on the evolution of a 2D stills photographer into a 3D photogrammetrist. This evening's talk, I'm going to be talking about a little bit about myself, my first contact with 3D photogrammetry, evolving concepts and possibilities, how I kind of things changed along the way as I was learning. Everyone's favourite, rust, salty hunks of rust, shipwrecks. I'm going to talk about some projects I am involved in. Going to talk about COVID. It's something that has hit every single one of us, and I've literally only just tested negative today. I've been positive for the last week. And I'm going to talk about the future. So first of all, who am I? This one image is the reason that I am here. It was captured by the late Wes C. Skiles in Dipolder Cave in Florida. I grew up on the Mendips. I grew up in a caving family, and when I saw this image, I just thought, wow, I really want to learn to be a cave diver. And at the time, I was living with a chap who was an instructor at the Wales Diving Group, and he said, "Well, don't know anything about cave diving, but if you're interested, we can you can come along to the next ocean diver intake and learn to dive the kind of BSAC way." So I thought, okay, well, I don't know anything else, so sure, I'll do that. So the BSAC intake was the ocean diver intake was starting about October. That next Christmas, I was given my first digital camera. My stepdad gave it to me. It was a hand-me-down camera, a little compact. I can't remember what make it was, and I found an underwater housing for it for about 40 quid. So that's where I started taking photos underwater. The top image there is of me taken with my first digital camera in my first dry suit dive in the pool during my ocean diver. The bottom image there is I think off the Plymouth Mewstone. You can see a camera above my right shoulder. That was my second digital camera. So as things progressed, my diving progressed, and also my camera systems progressed. Oh, I'm guessing you can see that there. There we go. My camera systems also progressed. I went from compact cameras to digital SLRs, and my photography also progressed along with the camera systems. This image is the first image that I had any recognition for, shall we say, and that was BSAC who recognised this image. It got through as one of the finalists in a competition to enter a BSAC calendar that they did one year. I've not seen one since, and I think it was the December of that year's calendar. Close to me, Chepstow, not very far away at all. This is probably my most stolen image. It's not actually had any official recognition, no competitions or anything like that, but it has been used in an awful lot of places without my permission. It is all over the internet on different blogs and Land Rover forums and people's garage websites and all sorts. And one Christmas, I was talking to my mum about photography, and she said, "Oh, you should enter some competitions." I go, "Mum, I'm not good enough for that." And she goes, "Just give it a go. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?" So a couple of days later, I entered the Underwater Photographer of the Year, and with this image, I entered a number of images, and in fact, I entered so many that I had to delete a load to. Because I had too many to enter, and this was actually on the chopping list. I thought this was one of the least strong images that I had, and ultimately it ended up winning the British Waters Wide Angle part of that year's competition. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have to enter um, the Underwater Photography of the Year again. So I did, and I've had quite a few placings over the years in that. So that's a bit about me with my 2D stills photography. I'm every dive I go on, I generally have a camera with me. It's very rare that I will dive without a camera. And in 2015, I was at the Birmingham Dive Show, and a chap called Simon Brown was presenting on the photo stage at the dive show, and he was showing how he was making 3D models from 2D still images. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And I was led to believe it. You need a lot of computer processing power to be able to take the 2D images and create these 3D models. And computer power wasn't something I had, although I had digital SLR cameras. All I needed to computing power for was just processing those images in basic touch-ups in Lightroom. So these were the sort of dives I was doing. I was going to Chepstow. I was going down to the bottom of Chepstow and coming back with images like this. And I put on Facebook one night saying, "Oh, tomorrow I'm going to Chepstow with someone," and I had a message come in from Simon, and he said, "You remember what I was talking about at the dive show?" I said, "Oh yes." He said, "Well, I've done this model at Chepstow," and he said it would be really cool if we could try and extend it a little bit. Would you fancy helping to see if we can make this model any bigger? I said, "Okay. Well, what do you need doing?" He said, "Well, for those of you who don't know, these are three attractions there in about 12 meters of water in Chepstow. And off to the side, as we look at to the right hand side, there is an Abbott self-propelled gun." And Simon said, "I would really like to add the Abbott to this model. What I need you to do, if it's okay, is capture a series of images. If you start at the Stalwart, which is the center vehicle there, go down one side of the Stalwart, turn, face the Abbott, take a series of images going towards the Abbott. When you reach the Abbott, go around the Abbott, taking a series of images, and then once you've captured all the sides of the Abbott, then turn around, go back to the Stalwart, carry on taking this stream of images, and just finalize the sequence of images around the Stalwart again." So what did I have to lose? I just done a 75-meter dive. I was off gassing at the time. It was either I could be bored on deco looking at the back screen of my camera, or I could actually do something to keep me active. So I said, yeah, of course, I'm more than happy to do that. So the next day I went diving. But when I came up to the 12-meter shelf, I did as Simon had said. That evening, I uploaded the images to Dropbox, sent Simon the link, and the next day he sent me this. And this is said Abbott self-propelled gun. This is the first photogrammetry model that was created from any of my data. And as I said, that the whole purpose of this was to try and extend the existing model. So here is the extension of the existing model. And what we discovered by doing this is that Simon shoots Nikon, I shoot Canon. So we kind of went, okay, well, different cameras using different lenses can be used together to create 3D photogrammetry. Also, the lighting was different on the days. The visibility would have been different. I mean, looking at the model, you can see the two different colours. So of which will be down to a lot of it down to the lights that I use versus the lights in the settings that Simon uses, but also in water conditions. And I saw this and I thought, I really like this. this is cool. I really want to do more of this. So what I found is that from that point onwards, I was taking lots of pictures like this, and then I kick, and I take another picture, and I kick, and I take another picture, and I kick, and I was just building lots and lots of photos, and in the end, creating models that are basically a complete virtual dive. So that was a single decker bus at 18 meters. This is the boat at 45 meters. We're descending down to about 74, 75 meters there. Moving along the bottom of Chepstow, North Sea marker buoy. Slight ascent up to about 66 meters with the Honda car there. 35, 40 meters with that car, and then the cylinder cemetery, where they would chuck in all the cylinders that failed test. You see a pipe on the ground there. That was a refueling gantry there for when it was a quarry. We have the a Wessex helicopter and a double decker bus and a BAE 146, Devon aircraft, another Wessex, the trawler Caroline. That had only just been put in when I scanned that, so it's all very shiny and white at the time. There's the Abbott, the stalwarts, the small aircraft, past the container, up to 6 meters with the Land Rover. And as I said, you can do pretty much a complete dive without getting wet and without having any deco obligations. But contrary to popular belief, I do also go in the sea at times. So I had a trip up to the Sound of Mull, and I thought, okay, well, as I'm in the Sound of Mull, let's see what I can scan up here. So these are the boilers of the RMS Aurania. Not very deep, probably about 10 meters deep. Every time I dive these boilers, they seem to be different orientation. First time I dived them, they were parallel. This time they were in this T-bone shape. But thus far, all the dives that I've done, there have been one very limiting factor, which is the fact that I had to swim everywhere. Pure manpower to be able to capture, to get around, to get my camera around these objects to capture them, which is rather inefficient. There are much better, more efficient ways of being able to cover more distance with scooters. So I bought a dive scooter, a Dive Extras Cuda, and I mounted my camera on it, and I went to Vobster and I scanned the 12-meter shelf and came up with the model as you see on the right hand side there. But the way that I had mounted the camera to the scooter wasn't ideal. There are many different types of camera mount out there to put cameras on scooters, but all of them have the camera facing the direction of travel. And that's not what you want for photogrammetry, because you don't want to be looking in the water. You want to be looking at the lake bed, the seabed, the wreck that's below you or to the side of you. So I had to come up with a system of attaching the camera so that the camera basically looks straight down as I was traveling forward. So as you can see, it's mounted center of scooter, which isn't ideal. Because it's mounted center of the scooter, I couldn't see any of the settings on the camera. I couldn't review any images on the camera, so I honestly didn't know what images the camera was capturing. So I have video lights there. I normally shoot with strobes, but because of the fact that it had to be, I couldn't review the images, I had to have the camera set to automatic, and I had to have constant lighting. So I mean, it proved a point though, is that model of the 12-meter shelf at Vobster, it took me probably 40 minutes to capture that. Whereas if you look at, for instance, the boilers on the RMS Aurania, that was probably about 20 meters just to do those boilers. So a lot more area can be captured a lot more efficiently. But I had to work out a way to remount the camera, and after that first dive with this, I thought, okay, well, I can kind of reuse the bits I already have, and but mount the camera right on the nose of the scooter. And by mounting on the nose of the scooter, that meant that I could go back to this basically the setup that I normally use, using strobes, having the camera set to manual, and I could actually have more influence on the images that the camera was capturing. And that had me thinking. I thought, okay, well, now I've upgraded to a scooter, I can capture much larger areas. What do I think would be possible to capture in a single dive, should we say? And I had a holiday coming up to Malta, and I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if I could scan a complete wreck? I thought that would be that was my plan, but I'd just see what the what I could do. So this is the S31 Schnellboot German E-boat in about 70 meters of water, captured in one dive. This one is the MV Rosie. This one is the HMS Hellespont. It's a paddle steamer, about 40 meters of water. The MV Glendi and the Carweller and the Camino Land. To give you an idea of scale, the Glendi, the upside down one, that's 90 meters long. This whole model is about 350 meters long, all scanned in a single dive. And this one is, I think, most people's favourite Maltese wreck, which is the infamous SS Polynesian. I did scan the Polynesian in a single dive, but we were going back to it later in the week. So the model that you see here is actually the result of two dives. But it wasn't just the nice warm blue waters of the Med that I was scanning in. I returned to the Sound of Mull, and this is probably my favourite UK wreck, the SS Hispania. This was captured over two dives. For those of you who've dived the Hispania, you'll know that it's very tidal. You have to hit it at slack, because there's so much water going over it. There's a lot of life on it, so there are a lot of anemones on it, which makes photogrammetry very difficult. So moving on to different projects that I'm involved in. The Vobster Photogrammetry project, the Explore Seascapes Tyne-Tees, Shores and Seas, and the Lust for Rust Truk Lagoon Baseline Wreck Baseline project. So starting off with the Vobster project, I'd already scanned all these different parts of Vobster Quay, and I was having a chat with the manager at Vobster, who is Tim Clements, and Tim just came out with this off the cuff remark and said, "Wouldn't it be really cool if we could scan the entire quarry?" And he was only kind of jesting and dreaming at the time, and I thought about what he said, and I thought, well, actually, there could be something in that. So I thought, well, I've already scanned these different objects. All I need to do, surely, is just link them up. Just do all these separate little capture the data in between them. These pathways in between the underwater attractions, and that there it is. We'll have it. So that's exactly what it is, and that's pretty much all of the underwater attractions at Vobster all joined together. And then, unfortunately, I was diving off the south coast, and I had a bend. I was diving the Austral Bush, I think, 62 meters. When I surfaced, I knew I was bent, and I was airlifted off, and because it wasn't my first bend, I was told that I wasn't allowed to dive for 3 months. And this was a bit of a blow to me. I was thinking, okay, well, what can I do with my time? And I kind of I bought a drone. There was that weekend there was someone on the boat with a drone, and I thought this is really cool. Then when I was told I wasn't allowed to dive, I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a drone. I'm going to have something to keep myself busy. And then I realised that the photogrammetry software I use is actually designed primarily for use with drones. So although I couldn't carry on the Vobster Photogrammetry project underwater, what I could do is do it above water. So yeah, sent the drone up, captured lots of data, and ended up with a 3D model of the above water features of Vobster Key. And then I had another thought, which wouldn't be really cool if we could merge the above water and the below water data sets together. And I did a bit of research, and I couldn't find anywhere that or anyone who done it before. I was really stabbing in the dark. I had to really think about the way that I'm going to be able to do this, and I thought, okay, well, photogrammetry uses like or it looks for the same points in all the images and compares those same points, and around the peripheries of Vobster, I mean, there's nothing really that sticks out that can be seen by the drone and could also be seen by the underwater camera. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to install some points. So one January morning, the team met up at Vobster, and we installed 9 what we call ground control points. So if you look at the top right image there, you'll see a white blob underwater. What that is it's a it's probably 100 mil square plate of stainless steel with a vinyl sticker on it, white vinyl sticker with some black a black unique marking on that sticker. And we installed 9 of these around the quarry. We installed them around about 500 or 600 mil underwater, and the reason we chose that depth was because, number one, they had to be able to be seen by the drone, so we couldn't have them too deep, otherwise the drone wouldn't see them. We had to have them deep enough so that I was able to get my underwater camera in housing over the top of them, so while I'm scanning the underwater side of things, we could still see these and include the data in them. And the third point was I had to attach them to the rock somehow. So you'll see the top left image is a drill bit's coming down. You see the boat, and we drilled these into the rocks. Well, we drilled holes, and I used concrete screws to bolt them to the rocks. And I don't have an underwater drill. I had to use a standard SDS Plus drill, of which wouldn't like going underwater very much. So I was limited on length of drill bits I could have. I was able to find 1 meter drill bits, so that's how we came up with the depth of about 500 or 600 mil underwater. Once the ground control points had been installed, one of the team members, Max, is a surveyor by trade. He's an underwater surveyor by trade, and he borrowed his mate's survey staff. So you see a yellow pole there he's holding. He's surveying each one of the ground control points, and using GPS and or other satellite constellations, we're able to georeference these points down to an absolute accuracy of around about 2 centimeters, which is very accurate. If you consider that your standard GPS in your phone or in your car is probably accurate to about 6 meters. 2 centimeters is extremely accurate. So once we'd installed the ground control points, the next thing to do was get in and scan. So this video is actually me scanning the ground control points. And what I decided to do was to dive 2 laps of the quarry at around about 4 meters depth, and then when I reached each ground control point, I would ascend, capture the ground control point, go back down to 4 meters, and then continue on continue on to the next ground control points. So yeah, we did 2 laps on that dive. I captured both stills and video for that dive. This image is on the same dive, and I've put this in here because you can actually see one of the ground control points towards the top of the image, just to the left of center. That's not actually the location of the ground control points. That is a reflection off the surface of the water of the location of the ground control points. The ground control point is actually down lower. If you can see my mouse, it's about there. But as you can see, the water was beautiful. When the ground control points were new, they were all bright and reflective. So finding them was really easy, just scootering around. When I see a white blob above me, I knew exactly where to go. So 2 laps. I can't remember how many thousand images, probably about 7,000 images, and went home, put all the images into the computer, and I came up with this model. And this is a 4-meter lap of Vobster Quay. I put the data in with the georeference data in to the photogrammetry software. And each one of the ground control points that we have on there is shown on this this model with these blue little blue flags. So there are 9 blue flags around the exterior of the lake. We do have a couple on land as well, which tied in with the drone work. Now, once we had processed the underwater element, I then processed the above water element, which is here, and the two just married together. It was a very, very exciting, satisfying moment to turn the monitor on my computer and to see that the above water and the below water data sets had merged. So once those had merged, that was kind of a big step forward. Once those had merged, all I needed to do then was add the underwater data to it, and as I already had the 4-meter ring aligned, and as there were sections of the existing data that were up to 4 meters, those aligned pretty easily, and that's and we created this model. So thus far, that's pretty much everything at that point in time, all the attractions of Vobster Quay. And then this happened. Vobster Quay were given a Sea King helicopter. Of course, they wouldn't say no to us because I'd completed my job of scanning. So they dropped a Sea King helicopter in there, and then my model was immediately out of date. But not for very long. It was in there for about a week before I went down and I scanned it and added it to the model. And this is the model as per the end of 2019. This is what's called an orthomosaic. So it's a flat, non-distorted image, so like a map as opposed to a single photograph which has distortion on it. This orthomosaic is it's made from over 73,000 images. It has a resolution of 1mm per pixel, and the photogrammetry data set is around about 1 terabyte. So that's before you take into account the all the images. This is the orthomosaic is online. It can be viewed online with on a website called Drone Lab, which kind of specialises in orthomosaics. And this was actually the largest orthomosaic that they had ever handled. Just the orthomosaic alone, the geotiff of that is about 28 gigabytes. So that's quite a large image. After 2019, the world changed and COVID hit, and the Vobster Photogrammetry project was put on hold. I'm sure that everyone remembers sitting at home in the blazing sunshine. It was absolutely gorgeous outside, and we couldn't. The visibility of Vobster was gorgeous, but none of us could go and do anything. So the project re-kicked off at the tail end of last year, and I thought, well, I've done an awful lot on this project, and I've learnt an awful lot along the way. So it would be daft of me um, to keep using the old data as opposed to putting into practice the things that I'd learnt along the way. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to just start again. So I started again the tail end of last year. So far of this recent season, I've captured about 37,500 images, and the processing computer is genuinely keeping my feet warm. It's down to my right hand side, and my feet are very warm and toasty next to us at the moment while it's processing away. But as it is still processing, I don't have any actual orbital 3D models to be able to show you. What I do have is a couple of little screen grabs though. This is it's about 22-meter section, and you can see a Sunseeker speedboat, an upside down Ford Anglia, a Humber car, the Jester's wheelhouse, drilling a quarry drilling rig, little yacht. You can see the Sea King helicopter, and over on the right hand side you can see the caravan. And this section alone was captured over 2 days. I think it was the 21st and 22nd of December that I captured these over 2 dives, and that's around about 10,500 images to create that. If we look at that area in a plan view, this is what's called a digital elevation model, and the different colors on here signify slope angle. So red is a vertical slope, and blue is a level area, and then you have the yellows and the greens in between. And this was actually it's one of the tools that I can use in the photogrammetry software and just create these. I think they look really cool, but I didn't sort of anticipate what I was actually going to find when I created this digital elevation model, and that is, if you look on the left hand side here, you can see the caravan, and you can actually see where divers have been and the track that divers take by an ever slightly different level in the silt. And then moving from the caravan right towards the poppy along the tyres, you can see that there's ever so slightly different level in silt there. And then also from the going south, going down from the poppy towards the helicopter, once again you can see that there's a slight indentation in the silt. In the top right, you can see this track that goes along, which is kind of quite a common path for divers to take when they're doing a lap of this 24-meter, 24-meter area. So this was, I was truly amazed. I really didn't expect to see this. I didn't know what to expect. I just thought it was just going to be some random colours, but to see this extra stuff that has come out from just this one model is absolutely fantastic. It's really cool data to discover. Just up from there, up at 12 meters, this is, as I showed you earlier, the first area that I scanned with the scooter. This is it again, a bit prettier this time, I think. And then you can also see the wheelhouse in the background, and also the bang hut in the background. Now moving on to the Explore Seascapes. This is a project that is being headed up by the University of Newcastle in the northeast. In case you weren't aware, there are quite a lot of wrecks out there. The project is based between the River Tyne and the River Tees, and these are all well, these are an awful lot of the shipwrecks that are in that area. And these two are lovely ladies, are good friends of mine. On the left is Professor Claire Fitzsimmons from Newcastle University, and on the right is Rachel Priest, who is a PhD graduate at University of Newcastle. And they contacted me and said, "Look, we have this project. Would you be interested in giving us a hand, coming along, being part of it?" And I thought, yeah, it sounds great. And what they're doing for the project is they are using local dive clubs to scan the underwater heritage that they have up there. So they've invited the local dive clubs to along to some tuition workshop days, both at their lab in North Shields and also at Cape and Ray. We were at Cape and Ray weekend just before last, and to develop their skills into underwater skills. And they're teaching the local dive clubs how to do photogrammetry, how to scan things. So it's not just a case of calling in experts in photogrammetry. It really is a genuine citizen science project, so that as divers we can all try and show everyone what we see underwater. I mean, everyone always asks, "Oh, what do you see down there?" "Oh, British waters must be murky." Whereas actually, where you go, well, actually, there is quite a lot of good stuff, and so that's what the aim of the project is, to be able to capture this data and share it with people. Saying that about murky waters, though, back in October, I went up to Newcastle and we went to dive a wreck called the Stag, which is a tugboat. Not very big, about 55 meters of water, and the visibility really was not optimal. If I had 2 feet of visibility, I would have been very surprised. It was really challenging conditions. And when I got to the bottom of the shot, I could see, well, I could understand that the visibility was terrible. So the idea of scanning the entire wreck was completely out of the question. So I cut my losses and thought, okay, what is achievable? And I thought, what I'd do is I'd do a couple of laps just around the gunwales and just see if we can get the outline of the wreck. And then, as you can see in the images here, the left-hand image is kind of as shot off camera. A lot of backscatter in the water, and I had to run through all the images through Lightroom to try and gather the usable data. I didn't want the useless data to be confusing the photogrammetry software at all. Also on the wreck, we decided to put down scale bars. So the black and white rules that you'll see there, they're meter rules. They have black PVC tape put on them at decimeter increments. And what this means is that I can tell the photogrammetry software from this point here to this point here is 1 meter, or from this point here to this point here is half a meter, or 300 mil, or something along those lines. And then it will scale the wreck. And once you've scaled the wreck, then you can obviously take other information from it. So you can then measure the length of the wreck. You can the beam of it. And on the left-hand image there, you'll see there's steering quadrant, and on the right-hand image, you'll see that there's a Kazi there, and the scale rule is actually put down on net. There's quite a lot of net on this wreck, and this is what the photogrammetry software spat out at the end of it. Unfortunately, the port side, it didn't complete the port side. There was an awful lot of net on the port side, and the issue with net is that it was moving in the current. So because it's moving, therefore it keeps changing its location, and the photogrammetry software didn't was unable to piece that together. But the bottom left, that's the stern. The bottom right is the view looking at the bow, and then the main image is looking at the back from the starboard quarter. Moving on to the Truk Lagoon Wreck Baseline project. So I visited Truk Lagoon twice before 2019, before this project has kicked off. And this chap, Pete Mesley, he's a Rhodesian who now lives in New Zealand. He's been running trips to Truk Lagoon for many years, and in a way has kind of opened up Truk Lagoon to the masses. He's put a lot of infrastructure into Truk, for instance, buying oxygen generating plants and things like that, so that to really look after technical divers. And Pete sent me an email one day, and he said, "Look, Marcus, I've been looking at your photogrammetry, and I think it would be really cool to try and utilize photogrammetry in Truk." At the time, the wrecks were 75, 76 years old. And I mean, everyone who's been diving for a while will have either said themselves or have always heard stories. Oh, I remember when that wreck was like this before this collapse happened. I mean, ultimately, they have a lifespan, don't they? They're constantly degrading. So Pete thought it would be really cool to have a project where we could document the wrecks, and ultimately they would be saved forevermore, but also have it as an ongoing project. So over time we could rescan the wrecks and compare how wrecks used to be to how they are later in time. And a couple of reasons for this is not just scanning the degradation just for something to do, but a lot of the wrecks are full of oil, and they are just a big ecological disaster waiting to happen. And if we can work out how long these wrecks have left, then, and if we think that there is something imminent, then hopefully something can be done about it, so that to try and prevent these big ecological disasters. But Truk itself, there are a lot of wrecks in Truk. This is a schematic of the lagoon, and each one of the red American dive flags there is a wreck. There are an awful lot of them, and they're not little wrecks either. They are big ocean going wrecks. So Pete said, that's the plan. What do you reckon? Do you fancy giving it a go? Of course I fancied giving it a go. Who wouldn't want to go to Truk? So I went to Truk 2019. November 2019. The image on the left there is me scanning the destroyer Oiti by Molly, and the right hand image by Becky is me scanning the Nippo Maru. So the trip, while I was there, this is what we came back with. These are the models that we managed to scan. The Ikoku Maru. This is a truly what's the word? Diving this wreck is unbelievable. Just to see the destruction on it, you can see it is half a ship. Huge loss of life on this. It really is an amazing wreck to dive, and the deck gun at the back is also pointing up at the sky. You can imagine it still blasting away at the planes that were coming in to bomb and torpedo it. The Amagasan Maru. This is about 55 meters to the seabed. The Gosi Maru. This is one that Pete scanned by himself. I've never actually dived the Gosi. Pete scanned this all by himself. This was his first complete photogrammetry model. The Hoki Maru. I think the Hoki was built on the Clyde. The submarine I-169. The IJN Oiti, the destroyer. The Kensho Maru. Anyone who goes to Truk, the best engine room in Truk Lagoon is the Kensho engine room. It is absolutely phenomenal. Mitsubishi G4M1 Betty. This model actually someone saw this model and actually told me that the correct model of bomber that it was. Everywhere I'd seen had said it was a G4M3 Betty, but they said, "Oh no, because it has the ventral blisters on it, it's a G4M1." Nakajima B6N Jill, torpedo bomber, and the diver in the foreground on the left-hand image there is Becky Kagan shot. The Nippo Maru also has a very, very beautiful engine room. The Rio de Janeiro Maru. The Rio engine room is also the engine room telegraphs are one of the iconic images of Truk Lagoon. And one afternoon dive, while my computer was processing the long morning dives images, I thought, okay, well, let's go into the engine room and see what we can do in the engine room. So I scanned the engine room. And we have the San Francisco Maru, most people's favorite wreck in Truk Lagoon, known as the $1 million wreck. The holds are still full of cargo with landmines, with sea mines, torpedoes, trucks. On the deck, you can see 3 miniature tanks, the Hago little light tanks, and the Yamagiri Maru. So on that trip, I managed to scan all of these 11 full shipwreck exteriors, 1 partial shipwreck, 3 aircraft wrecks, and 1 engine room. Over 60,000 images captured across 12 dive days. But I don't think that's really shows off photogrammetry the way that I would like it to. So I've actually created a little video for you to watch. I hope this comes through all right. If it doesn't, I will post a link to it at the end so you can watch it in case internet connections are a bit rubbish or anything like that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. So that was 2019. I was in Truk doing that, and once again came back from Truk, and the world went into lockdown with COVID. So it would be wrong of me to not really mention COVID in this, because actually an awful lot happened during COVID for me with photogrammetry. I was sitting at home. I was bored, as were most people, and I was just scanning absolutely anything and everything around the house, including my daughter, while she was sleeping. And it was a way of me passing the time. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be really cool to give other people this opportunity? And I'm bored here doing this. And at the time, I'd never heard of Zoom. I don't know how many other people were in that position, but before COVID, I didn't have a clue what Zoom was. And I discovered people doing webinars, and then thought, well, wouldn't it be really cool to using this Zoom platform to kind of teach people photogrammetry? And I thought, well, let's keep it simple. I don't want to get too in depth with things. I don't want to go into underwater stuff, because actually we're all sitting at home. I don't want to be getting to using big cameras and things like that. I want to keep it bare bones, as simple as possible. So I devised the lockdown and the quarantine photogrammetry workshop groups. And the idea was that everyone used the simplest camera they had. I mean, I was doing everything on my phone. Use your phone, keep it simple. And then the software that I use, it has two different versions, each of which have a 30-day free trial on them. So if you do one version and then the second version, and don't activate them both together, you can have up 60 days of free use. So what I really want to do was kind of break down the barriers, that the anxieties that are related with people learning new technology, and just try and make it fun, keep it amusing, but ultimately give some people something to do while they're sitting at home twiddling their thumbs, being bored, watching Netflix and repeats on UK Gold. And people started coming back with these models. Creativity was absolutely fantastic. I ran different competitions, and so people were really letting their creative flair go. And one of the best, or one of the most satisfying things to have come out of the photogrammetry workshops I did is the work that Becky Kagan-Schott's doing in the Great Lakes, and the B-17 there is in Croatia. These models are all as a direct result of the photogrammetry workshops that I did. So I'm sure any instructors out there will know the feeling of seeing students succeed. This is kind of the first time I'd done anything like that, passing on information. So to me, this was really satisfying to see all the results that were coming back. So looking at the future, the Truk Lagoon Wreck Baseline project, Pete Mesley is kind of evolving the idea, and instead of having just the wrecks of Truk Lagoon being scanned, I mean, that's a project that we're still going to carry on doing, but wouldn't it be cool to have people around the world scanning wrecks around the world, and having a database, shall we say, of 3D wreck models? I mean, whether they be photogrammetry or multi-beam data, or accurate artistic impressions, but somewhere that people can go if they want to see what wrecks look like, if they want to do dive planning or anything like that. So Peter's created the worldwide Wreck Baseline project, of which is a citizen science project. Anyone can participate, anyone can follow. Although it is very early days at the moment, I have to say the website is still under construction on it, but ultimately the foundations are there. So if you'd like to follow, participate, and share to the Wreck Baseline project, great. I said citizen science project, so anyone's free to to participate, to upload, to share, to and to follow. Website for that is wreckbaseline.com. The Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/wreck baseline. But how and with what? That's the big question. If you don't already have the practical knowledge, the workshop groups that I did during COVID, they are still up on Facebook. They are free to use. The workshops, lessons that I did over Zoom. I recorded them all, and the recordings are all on the Facebook group. So if you want to go onto the Quarantine Photogrammetry workshop group on Facebook, completely free, go to the media section and you can have a watch for yourself. Another thing that is on there is I had guest speakers. So I had speakers talking, like John Kendall was talking about the Mars project. Brett Seymour spoke about the National Park Service. I had Bill Stone, the infamous Bill Stone, spoke as well, which was quite amazing. Just talking about different projects that they do with 3D data. I know that this day and age people like to do courses. So INTD UK have a photogrammetry course, of which Tim Clements of Vobster wrote. I think Tim is obviously a qualified instructor. Tim Cutter up north is a qualified instructor. Barry White is also a qualified instructor, as is Kieran Hatton. So currently it's UK only. John Kendall from GUE runs photogrammetry courses. I know there is a BSAC one in on the cards, but for whatever reason it's just a bit delayed at the moment. But I think that is due to be coming out at some point. But with what? That's the question. So this, many of you will know, this is the Nautilus submarine in Stony Cove. This is also the Nautilus submarine in Stony Cove. And this is also the Nautilus submarine in Stony Cove. Now, you might be asking, why am I showing you the same thing 3 times? The left-hand one was captured with a GoPro 9 with a housing, which at the moment is about 300 quid. The middle one was done with a GoPro 10 and housing, which at the moment is about 400 quid. And the right-hand one was done with a Canon EOS R5 with a lens and housing, which will cost you about 8 grand. What I'm trying to get across here is you don't have to have expensive kits to create models. Although the one thing I will say is that I did have some rather good lights on this, but ultimately that's mainly colour that I'll bring out. But yeah, you have an action camera. The likelihood is that you can do photogrammetry. You really don't need the very, very expensive top-end cameras to be able to do it. Excuse me. And with regards to the software, you can get 60 days for free. Past that, it's about 180 quid to license forever. I absolutely have to thank Brett at Nautilus and John Womack at Otter for helping, supporting me throughout with the projects that I do. Any questions?